I think some of the most common misconceptions that people can have around depression and anxiety are that it's all in someone's head, and that if they tried hard enough, then they could heal themselves, when that's not the case.
People often think that if someone with depression or anxiety just tried harder or thought positive thoughts, they'd feel better. But it's crucial to understand that these are real. They're complex uh, mental health conditions that often can't be overcome by sheer force of will.
Because sometimes depression and anxiety, they're almost invisible in a sense, in that, unlike, let's say, physical illness where there's a very clear ailment that's visible, people with depression and anxiety, that isn't always the case. And so that can sometimes lead to these misconceptions because it's harder to see. And when that happens, people can just assume that it's easy to heal when it's not. In fact, it can be chemical imbalances in the brain. I think a big component of this is empathy. So, empathy is essentially putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So, if your loved one is suffering with depression and or anxiety, trying to put yourself in their shoes and trying to think about what they might be feeling. In terms of validation, in my experience, it's helpful to say statements like, I'm here for you. I can see why you're feeling that way because of X, Y, and Z. Basically, just letting them know that you can imagine what they're experiencing and feeling.
They might not feel like an offer, like "let me know if you need anything" is real, and maybe it feels like a bit empty. So being more specific shows them that you're actually willing to do things. Saying things like "you matter to me" or "I care about you," expressing your care really directly can be really meaningful, especially since depression often makes people feel unworthy or unlovable.
It's not that bad. Other statements could be just get over it, just get more sleep, exercise more. You'll notice I'm using a lot of just because those can be very minimizing.
Also, avoiding comparisons, like think about other people that have it worse, or you have so much to be grateful for. So depression and anxiety, they're not necessarily rational responses to circumstances. So these kinds of statements can induce guilt without actually helping the person feel better. Grappling with depression and anxiety often is not linear. It goes up and down, and there's setbacks very frequently, and successes, and pressure to kind of get better already can be really counterproductive. One important way to do this is to approach this subject with empathy and without judgment. So maybe, expressing your concern in a kind of caring way. So like, "I've noticed you've been struggling lately, and I'm worried about you. Have you been thinking at all about talking to a professional or a therapist?" So this opens the door to the conversation without being pushy. Also, it can be helpful to ask, what their thoughts and expectations are about seeking professional help. Do they think it's only people that are not like them, or do they have certain biases or misconceptions about seeking help? It can be helpful to normalize the idea. So sharing your own experiences with therapy if you have them, or talking about how common it is to seek support.
If you are thinking about encouraging someone to seek mental health support, in my experience, it can be helpful to have a conversation with the person about your concerns for them. Something that might come across as invalidating is if you just go ahead and do it for them. So I think it can be helpful to make it collaborative, to express, I'm here for you. and I want to support you. And I also think that you could benefit from professional help. What do you think? And just seeing what they have to say in terms of the next steps and resources. Something that could be helpful is maybe figuring out what type of therapy they're looking for. So, for example, would they do well in private practice? Would they do well in a community mental health setting or an agency, and kind of figure out what environment is likely to be the most helpful for them. And again, this is where you can talk to the person and even do like a Google search on the different mental health supports available in your area. The next step would be to narrow down a list of places that could be helpful, and then contact them and see, for example, what their waiting lists are like, what their fees are like, what their scheduling is like, and then go from there.
Sometimes the most helpful things are the practical day-to-day supports. So tasks that you might find simple can feel overwhelming to someone struggling with these things. So one of the most supportive things you can do is just to help with daily tasks. Let's do your laundry, lending a hand with household chores. Can I pick up groceries for you? Can we make a meal together? These small things can make a big difference in helping them alleviate stress. And other times, just being present can be really helpful. Offering to go with them to appointments, providing a sense of, that provides a sense of support and security. It's not about taking over, but just being there if they need you, or saying, can I come over and hang out?
It might be helpful to just have a conversation with them around maybe where, for example, their anxiety is coming from. And then once you find that out, looking for ways that you can alleviate some of that stress. So for example, maybe they're feeling really anxious about an upcoming test at school. And they're also, maybe they're living alone and they have a lot of stuff around their home that they need to take care of. Then something that you could do that could be helpful to them is take care of maybe one or two of the things around their house.
For someone with depression, it can be helpful to kind of gently encourage them to engage in activities they used to enjoy, even if they don't really feel up to it at first. So starting small and being very patient, it is about offering opportunities, not creating pressure. It's important to ask them what might be the most helpful for them, rather than assuming. What one person finds supportive might be overwhelming for another person. So just check in. What do you need? What do you want? How about this? How about this? It's, you can work together to find out what might be best.
First of all, I think it's amazing that you are trying to be there for your loved one. Being that support for someone can be a lot, and it can take its toll on you, and that's okay, and it's very normal. There's nothing wrong with feeling anything really, whether it's fatigue, tiredness, even burnout after caring for someone. So it's so important to recognize that and take care of yourself. The analogy I like to use is when you go on an airplane and they're doing the safety video at the beginning, they always say put on your own safety mask before helping someone else put on their safety mask.
People sometimes say you can't pour from an empty cup. So maybe maintaining your own routines, what you use to take care of yourself. So getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, doing activities you enjoy, seeing people that you cherish or care about. It's not selfish to take time for yourself. It's necessary. Like putting on your own oxygen mask first on a plane. You need to be okay in order to be able to support others. So maybe it's okay to let your loved one know when you're not available or when you need some time to recharge. You don't have to be available all the time. So clear, gentle, kind communication about your needs is important. It's not about pushing the other person away, but maintaining a healthy relationship where you can sustainably offer support. Um, and I mean, in that vein, having your own support network is invaluable too. So, friends, family, or even a support group for people in similar situations. So having people you can talk to about your experiences and feelings can make a big difference.
So if you're feeling overwhelmed when it comes to supporting someone with depression and anxiety, you're not alone. In my experience, it's very common to feel that way. Depression and anxiety can take so many different forms, and you can do all of the research, but there will still be times I can imagine where you're feeling stuck, for example. Um, so when that happens, it might be helpful to reach out to professional help, whether that's getting your loved one into professional help, whether it's yourself talking to someone as well, and just getting the expertise of someone who has the resources and knowledge of these complex concerns.
That being said, learning about depression and anxiety can be very helpful. It can give you a better understanding of what your loved one's going through, and it can help you feel more prepared. But also remembering that everyone's experience is unique, so always listen to your loved one's individual needs. And don't be afraid to ask them directly how you can help. We often think we know what someone needs, but it's usually best to ask, simple, what do you need from me right now? That could go a long way. Be realistic with how you're approaching it and be patient. Supporting someone can be challenging. It's okay to not have all the answers, and you don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to always know what to say or know what to do. The most important thing is simply being there. Sometimes, listening without judgment is the best thing that you could possibly do. Your loved one doesn't necessarily need you to solve their problems. They often just need to know someone cares and understands, and that can provide the foundation for them to grapple with their own concerns.
Redbird Therapy.